President Trump promoted on social media yesterday he'll give a primetime address to the nation this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. MS Now has learned the speech will focus on newly declassified intelligence. The White House claims reveal plans by foreign nation to interfere in the 2020 election. That's according to two White House officials speaking on the condition of anonymity. One of those officials said the president will be joined at the address by the CIA director, the acting director of national intelligence, the FBI director, and the Secretary of Homeland Security. We will again note, as we have for many years now, there has been no credible evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election. A primetime address to the nation about an election he lost 6 years ago.
And this is what I love about this. And I think Nicole brought this point up yesterday. The 2016 election was okay, right? Who ran that election?
The Obama administration?
Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama ran the 2016 election, and it was clean. The 2024 election was run by Sleepy Joe Biden, and it was clean. Who ran the 2020 election? It's a crazy thing when they'll be going, oh, the FBI, they infiltrated January 6th, the deep state. It was his FBI. It was his deep state. It was his election officials. Like, he ran the 2020 election, so he's going to come on and say, I was so stupid that I let foreign countries infiltrate our election in 2020 in a way that Barack Hussein Obama did not in 2016, in a way that Sleepy Joe Biden did not in 2020. Like, again, the insanity of it all. But I guess he wants to turn the camera on himself and say, I was so incompetent that I couldn't even run an election.
Feels like an own goal. Also at a time when a president, any other president at this moment, might talk about the war in Iran.
Right.
What are we doing there? How's it going? What's the end game? Affordability, things that are impacting people's lives. Certainly not an election he lost 6 years ago, and court after court, including Trump-appointed judges, said as much that he lost. Let's bring in independent Senator Angus King of Maine. He's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator, thanks for being with us. I want to talk to you about the shooting, ICE-involved shooting yesterday in Maine. But just briefly, you are on the Intel Committee. Can you shed any light into what the president may be talking about later this week? Have you learned any new information about the 2020 election that might be relevant here?
Nothing whatsoever. Haven't heard. I've never heard anything about foreign interference in the 2020 election. Now, I could go on for a half hour about Russian interference in the 2016 election, but nothing about 2020. I have no idea what they're going to say tomorrow night. And I have to tell you, one of the frustrating things is, for a member of the Intelligence Committee, we have to hold what we hear in confidence. And when we hear the White House say things that we know are inconsistent with the intelligence that we've been given on the committee, we can't say anything. And I just have to share that. That's a continuing frustration with this administration.
Wait, so you're telling me if they lie to the American people, you can't correct them?
Well, I would never say that, Joe.
No,
that's right.
I'm saying if they lie to the American people about matters of intel that you know the real story on, you can't correct them because you would be revealing classified information. So they just go around lying all they want.
Exactly. It's very frustrating when I hear things being said by the administration, by the Secretary of Defense, or by the president that I know is inconsistent with the intelligence that we've seen. But I can't say that because I respect the confidentiality of classified information.
And is the director of the CIA really going to stand there on national television and let the president lie about the 2020 election? We will see. As we've been discussing, Senator, all morning, growing calls in your state for justice and transparency after an ICE agent fatally shot a man in Maine yesterday, marking the second deadly ICE-involved shooting in the United States in less than a week. Immigrant rights groups identified the victim as 26-year-old Juan Sebastian Guerrero of Colombia. The organizations say he'd been issued a Social Security number and was authorized to work in the United States legally. Initially, federal officials said Guerrero was the subject of an arrest warrant, but later, Senator, you confirmed that Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin told you the victim was not the person ICE agents were looking for and that the agents were not wearing body cameras. So for people just waking up to this story, Senator, can you kind of walk us through what you know at this hour?
Well, number one, it's a real tragedy. This was a young man who was married, had a 3-year-old daughter, was working, and wasn't the target of the investigation. They were going after the wrong person. And we don't have much in the way of facts, except that this fellow was killed driving a car. And there's a lot of law about law enforcement officers shooting into cars. You're not supposed to shoot into a car unless there's imminent threat to yourself or to others. And it was really interesting. DHS issued a statement last night, and they said that the officer perceived that there was a danger to public safety. They didn't say he felt endangered himself. It was a very sort of lawyerly worded statement that didn't really defend what happened. What happens now is we've got to have a straightforward, transparent and honest investigation that involves state officials. The people of Maine are not going to buy an investigation that's strictly run by the FBI or DHS. I'm sorry, but they just don't have the credibility. The other piece of this, and the larger question is, why were they there in the first place? And we can talk about that. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, here we have an image. Once again, it appears to be an ICE agent shooting into a side window of a moving car going at a slow rate of speed when, as you said, the statement suggests the agents themselves were in no danger. They were talking about danger to the public. There's no danger to the public here. And they're gunning down people, it appears, at point blank range, just like they did in Minneapolis to Renee Good. Is there nothing Republicans will do to step in and stop this? They're the ones that funded it. They're the ones that are allowing this to continue. What needs to be done so people will stop getting gunned down in the streets of America by the federal government?
How about this, Joe? How about this? Here's a really simple idea. Apply to ICE the same standards that are applied to police forces all over the country, whether it's Miami or New York or San Diego or Denver. Make them follow the same protocols. Number one, let's get these body cameras on. It's ridiculous with all the money they have. They have all the money in the world under the appropriations that they've had. By the way, my Republican colleagues have now funded ICE to the end of Donald Trump's term. They've literally given up the power of the purse over ICE. And so things like body cameras, identifications, no masks, those are simple things that apply everywhere else in the country to police forces. That's number one. Number two, let's be sure that an investigation of this is real and that it's credible and that it involves not just the federal authorities. And that's why I'm glad so far our state attorney general, our state police have been engaged in this investigation, and that's what we have to continue. But the bigger point is, why were they there in the first place? They arrested, we had a big surge in Maine. It didn't get the publicity that Minnesota, but we had a big surge in Maine in the winter. They arrested over 200 people. 19 of them had criminal records. So this whole idea of this is the worst of the worst and they're going after the criminals and getting criminals off our streets, that's a phony. That's a fraud. And what's really going on is these folks have been given a quota by the White House, which is the worst thing you could do with law enforcement, to arrest. It was 3,500 a day. Now I hear it's 2,000 a day. But when you do that, give that kind of quota to law enforcement, you're almost certain to get bad results. So they shouldn't have even been Biddeford in the first place. Biddeford is a wonderful town. It's up and coming. It's a very dynamic town with, interestingly, a lot of immigrant roots going back 100 years. So they shouldn't have been there at all. And there appears to be very little, if any, justification for this. I'm going to wait for the facts, but thus far, it stinks.
We will join you in waiting for the facts. Not only is it not the worst of the worst, in the recent cases, it's been the wrong person. And in this case, someone who was working here legally. Independent Senator Angus King of Maine, thank you so much, Senator, for your time this morning. We always appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.